Hi, welcome to yet another episode of the MT Agroeco Tales. My name is Thomas Malunda. Like I mentioned in the prompt video, we are gonna be having these episodes both on farm, like we did on the last episode, and off farm, like we're doing today. And be rest assured that all the information that is gonna be shared on this platform will be aimed at helping you watching me to know what you gotta do such that you practice agroecology. If you still do not know what agroecology is, I request you to just go to the first episode, check it out, because I spoke about these terms that we are gonna be using on this platform. So I hope that you had great Christmas celebrations, and I hope that you're keeping safe as we are moving into the new year. So let's get to it. Today we are going to be talking about a practice that should be done off farm, and that is planning. That's why you see me recording it from here at home. So what do we usually do when we are going to construct a house? What's the first thing we do? Of course, after buying land. Because somebody may say that, well, the first thing is to look out for land. Yes, land is there. What's the next thing that you do? You're right. It is coming up with a plan of the house. And of course, we usually leverage the expertise of an architect. So the aim is that before we start construction of a house, bringing on board builders, bring on board all the materials that are going to be utilized to raise the buildings and have a beautiful home, we gotta have this drawn on paper, such that as we are building, there is something that we refer to, okay? Think about the companies where you work from. We usually have goals, 10-year goals, 5-year goals, 2-year goals. All these are aimed at showing us the bigger picture of what we intend on doing, so that by the time we start the implementation of our day-to-day activities, there is that bigger picture that we are referring to. So many of you looking at me lose money as you are venturing into farming, agriculture in general, before you even come to agroecology, because you do not first take time to come up with the bigger picture, to come up with a plan of what exactly you are gonna do. Okay, so you find yourself just jumping into it. You have the land there, it's been sitting for I don't know how much time, and because you've heard that in Uganda the past season everybody has earned lots from coffee, you've planted coffee. Just because everybody is growing bananas, you're growing bananas. Just because everybody is growing chili, you're going into chili. You've not taken time to plan for the entire process. Land preparation, what is required? What are the expected costs? When I go to planting, what is expected? When I go to the vegetative stage of the crop, what is expected? When I go to the flowering stage, what is expected? So all of those things are so crucial, but we usually ignore them. And we find ourselves throwing money into the farm, but never getting returns. So that is why it is very important to plan before we start, okay? So before I jump into it, I want to make something clear. Usually when we talk about venturing into agriculture in general, there is a perception that we get, which is that we are only referring to production. And by production, I mean going to the garden and growing crops. But that is wrong. When we talk about venturing into agriculture, the agricultural value chain is wide. There are different elements that feed into it. It could be the input suppliers. It could be the producers, that's the production. It could be the off-takers. It could be the distributors. It could be the retailers. There are different steps or levels that form the agricultural value chain. So one thing that I would want to begin by demystifying is for you to think that if you need to get into agriculture, and for the purpose of our platform, agroecology, you need to be in production. That's not it. Okay, of course, on MT Agro Eco Tales, we're gonna be taking you through the farm because we have a farm. But we shall also be talking about other elements along the agricultural value chain. So I just want you to think clearly of where you want to go as we talk about planning. Okay, you may have the land, yes, but probably it is very well located for a retail shop. You know, there are people in areas where you live who need agroecologically produced products. So probably instead of setting up a farm, you just need to set up a shop and then source for produce, sell. You are contributing towards agroecology, but you have chosen to take the area of distributing agroecological products. Someone else may go into production. Another may go into manufacturing of the inputs that are used during production of agroecologically produced food. So you can choose where you want to go. You do not have to be everywhere. Of course, it's also possible to be everywhere, but you do not have to. So I just wanted to start with that as we talk about planning, as you think through where you are gonna, start from to contribute towards agroecology, you need to define which aspect of the agricultural value chain you're gonna be a part of. Okay? So when that is clear, the second thing that is so crucial is what problem are you solving? Oh yes. What problem are you solving? So at the end of whatever we are going to do, be it in production, be it in retailing, be it in input distribution, be it in off-taking, you gotta make a profit. When I was starting in the previous episode, I mentioned that the key is to attain the three aspects of sustainability. Okay? And these involve economic viability. So in all that we do, we need to be making a profit. So you are not going to make a profit if people are not buying. People are not going to buy if whatever you're producing is not solving a problem for them. Okay? So you need to define the problem that you are going to solve by whatever you're going to do agroecologically. Okay? So those are the first things that I want you to put in mind as we move forward. So I'm going now to jump into the production kind of agroecology. We are going to be taking to the different steps on the farm, like I mentioned. But before you go there, you need to have identified what exactly you're going to do. Okay? So what's the bigger picture of what you're going to do? In the previous episode, I mentioned that for us, we plan on setting up an agrotourism farm. That's the bigger picture of what we are gonna do. So whatever we are doing, the layout at the moment is feeding into that bigger picture. So what is that bigger picture that you got? Having understood it, what are the key enterprises that you gotta have? Of course, under agroecology, we need to get crops and livestock and then make sure that they interact, such that from the crop area, you get feeds for the animals, and then from the animals, you get manure for the crops. So it should be a self-sustaining system under agroecology. So if you are gonna have crops on your farm, which crops are you targeting? Is it coffee? If it's coffee, who is gonna supply you with the inputs? Okay, so if you're gonna get the inputs, where exactly are they located? How much do they cost? How much is it gonna cost you to transport them from where they are to your farm? Okay, these are all off-farm activities, but you are planning. If it's bananas, what kind are you going to plant? Is it tissue cultured bananas? Is it the normal suckers that are planted? Where are you gonna get them? Are they reputable suppliers? If no, how can you get contact or connected to the people who are reputable. When you get them, how much do they sell at? Okay? What's the cost of transportation from where they are to your farm? These are costs that we do not usually think about when we are going to start these ventures, and we end up losing a lot of money. Okay, so yes, you have determined and established where the suckers or seedlings are going to be getting from. Let's go to the farm. What is its current status? When we bought the land where we're setting up our farm, it was filled up with, lots of shrubs. There are some plants in it which we didn't want. So we had to begin by clearing them off. And of course, begin preparing for what we are going to take there. So what is the cost of clearing your land? Removing the excess vegetation which is not needed for the crop that you're going to introduce. What is that cost of land preparation? Okay, so you put that down. From that, the next step is going to be planting. So planting of whatever you're going to bring. What is the cost of that labor? Of course, when you plant, things like weed management are going to come in. And of course, under agroecology, we have measures that we should take to make sure that we manage the weeds. Chemical control comes as a last strategy or option under agroecology. It's not the first option. Okay, so things like manual weeding, mulching, how much is it gonna cost you? So by planning all these, you get a picture of what you are likely gonna need to spend. Okay, so from that stage of planting, we go to the vegetative stage. What is the crop gonna need? It's gonna need top dressing with the fertilizer. Okay, we have lots of organic fertilizers that you can use. You have manure, like I mentioned. We need animals on the farm to avail with the manure. But if you don't have the manure, like on our farm at the moment, what are you gonna use to get the manure? You need money. How much is it? Okay, pests are gonna come through, diseases are gonna come through. How are you gonna manage them? Probably you are starting like we are on our farm. We do not have the pesticidal plants yet up. So we need to purchase the biopesticides that we are gonna use on our farm. How much are they gonna cost? Flowering stage, like what are those inputs that you're gonna need at that stage? Moving to the fruiting stage, how much are you gonna need at that stage? Finally, we go to the harvesting and of course post-harvest. How much are you gonna need? So at the post-harvest stage, what are you going to do? Do you want to add value to your product? If you are, for example, having coffee, do you want to add value to it yourself? Or you want to sell the cherries when you just harvested them? Do you want to first dry them or sell them wet? If it's bananas, do you first want to add value to it or you just want to sell it off? So these are all things that you need to determine at this stage before you start. Okay, so it's quite a series of steps, and each step requires different things that need to be done. And whatever needs to be done has a cost implication. So these are costs that you gotta put down. And of course, at every stage that you go to, there could be resources or skills that are needed. So you need to determine, do I have the skills and resources or not? So when we go to, planting, do I have the people to work with me? Do I have the required knowledge or I don't? If I don't, then where can I go for help? Okay, so talking about the marketing aspect, under agroecology, there are people who have, tried to come up with measures of how we can identify agroecologically produced crops such that we easily find market for them. Of course, there are numerous strategies that can be used to sell this product, because one thing that is for sure is that people are health cautious. So if you can get the products and then take them to market them to people who are health cautious, you can sell them off. However, there are strategies in place. And I know in Uganda here, there are people who have really spearheaded the entire initiative of seeing to it that agroecologically produced food finds market. And one of those people is Professor Charles Sechewa. I know that he's been coming up with an initiative to help market these products. And of course, before marketing, there is some sort of certification which needs to be done, and it's called the participatory guarantee system. How this works is that different actors in the value chain, the producers, the local leaders, the off-takers, come and visit the farm, and they assess the different aspects of the enterprises that are being done and go ahead to confirm that indeed this particular person is producing food agroecologically. So I know Professor Charles is doing a lot of work in that, of course, in collaboration with Uganda Matters University in Kozi, Pelham, Uganda. A lot of work is going into that to see that there is some sort of certification which can be done. And of course, there are markets that have been put up to help with selling of these products. Still, Professor Charles has a market along Entebbe Road, I think it's around Baitababili, where he has stalls for organic and agroecological products. And I know in Zambia, there is usually the organic market. So that's another place where you can check your produce. But away from all that, you need to determine where you will be taken at this stage before you start production. Okay, if you're gonna be a retailer, you need to establish who the producers are, where they're located, and where you're gonna be selling. Are you gonna be taking to Professor Chelsea's market, or are you gonna be taking to Zambia, or are you just gonna target health conscious individuals? This is where you need to determine that. So, I hope that this episode is helpful to you. Like I mentioned, we are having these episodes both on farm and off farm. This is an off farm activity. You should do it before you go ahead to start the different practices on your farm, such that you do not get to the end of it all, having invested all of the money, all the resources, all the time, and you do not know where what you've produced is going to end up. So, as I conclude, as Jim Rohn, a famous motivational speaker, used to say, do not start anything until you have it finished. I also want to tell you, looking at me, do not start that farming venture, that agroecological venture, until you have it finished. The only way you can have it finished is by planning it out from A to Z. Put it on paper and then go ahead to implement. Until next time, may the good Lord bless you.